Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show Beyond Believe. I'm Sabine, your host, and today I have a great guest, Lisha. Welcome.
Hi, Sabine.
Lisha is a writer by profession, and she says communication is in her DNA. Lisha is also a yoga practitioner and an animal communicator with a passion for dance. She strongly believes in alternative medicine. Born with a hole in her heart at a time when surgery was a big deal and very uncertain, she now see how special it is to be alive and kicking. For an Indian girl who never lived in India and whose parents were not religious, she would have visions and experiences with saints. And she discovered the reason for that later on in life. She will explain, of course, everything to us. But before we dive into today's discussion, I'm excited to announce my upcoming soul retreat in Bali from June 16 to 22. Don't miss it. I have also an accelerated channeling class that is coming up. Check the dates on my website. And the last one, this is a new course, is the Awakened Badass Solopreneur. This is a 3 months intensive course, and the title speaks for itself. For details, you can visit my website in the upcoming event section. Now, let's embark on another episode of Beyond Believe. And today's subject will be, of course, animal communication. Lisha, please, can you explain to your audience how did you start your spiritual journey? How did you begin?
So, I didn't even know the meaning of spiritual as a child. I just knew there was something as religious or non-religious. And I used to see, if I would go to a spiritual or a religious place or a temple, people would come up to me and say, "Oh, where have you been? We've been waiting for you for years." I would see visions when I moved to boarding school the first night without even knowing the name Jesus. I would see visions of Jesus, on all the windows. So people thought I was a bit of a freak, and I believed I would be a freak if this is what I would do. So I completely disengaged from this to the point that I remember in school, I wanted to run away from all these things so much that when we had a bunch of missionaries come in, they said, "Who would like to convert to Christianity?" And without even knowing, I said, "Yes, me." And I was up on stage and I was praying and everything. And I wrote to my parents that from now onwards, I will never do this and I will never do this because I'm a born again Christian and I can never bow down to anything and I can never do this. My parents were like in shock, like what happened? So I remember I had this, extreme, like this way, then again this way. And then a few years later, one day I was in this ashram coming back from boarding school and the trains were shut. Everything had like clamped down, and we were forced to stay in this little ashram that I did not know, and I did not even know who these saints and these sages were. But my aunt, who was escorting me, made us live there for a few days, and I used to hang out in this lady's house, who people called Ma, like she's weird, but for me she was like a buddy. And I used to hang out with her because she was a homeopath and I used to read her homeopathy books in the corner and follow her to the Ganges and walk. And one day she just asked me, she said, "Why have you closed all the doors?" And I said, "What do you mean? The door is open? Aruna, the door is open." And she said, "No, even the windows are closed." I said, "What do you mean? The windows are open. Look, there's a small little cabin that she had, like she used to live in this one little bedroom thing." And I said, "Everything is open." And she said, "No, I mean the doors to your mind and your heart. You closed everything. How is the air gonna come in?" And it hit me what she meant then, because my last few years of shutting out this, whatever opened, I would quickly like package it and put it away. And that's when I realized, she said, why do you need to close any door? Let the air come in from all over. How do you know which one you need right now? You're so young, and I was 15, 16, not even. It was a huge turning point in my life, and I remember that day I just left myself open to anything that came my way. Um, it, it just was a game changer. It was a complete epiphany for me. And I went with this philosophy and I still follow it all my life. I don't have anything like this or that religion. For me, it is really, that's when I understood spiritualism. That's when I understood being connected to something that was higher and beyond names and words and books. Um, and I have no shame in saying today that, yes, I'm also a Christian and I'm also a Hindu and I'm also a Muslim and I'm also this, because everything for me is really one source today. And it links back to right from my communication to my to the things that I follow, which is homeopathy and healing. And all of it is really about goodness and finding a higher source in the truth.
Great. And how did you go from there to animal communication?
So as a child, I loved animals and I was always drawn to them, and I would bring back all the sick animals and sparrows and rabbits and whatnot. And because I was in boarding school, I would come back home when all the kids were traveled elsewhere. And my home became the boarding house for people who went on leave, so they would leave their cats and dogs and birds, and we had a little mini zoo. And I just knew that I wanted to be a vet at that time, because I thought that's the only thing, really, as a child at that time, the only profession that was linked to animals was being a veterinarian. And I thought, oh my God, this is just too much blood and not enough money. So I said, no, no, sorry, I cannot be a vet. I have to be something a little more glamorous in life, uh, and something that earns money. And then I went along, and I did management and commerce, and different things came my way. And this whole option of exploring a life or a career with animals was not non-existent. And one day I was sitting at a project, and I this is really serendipity, and I was finishing a project, and I didn't have any reason to stay on in Dubai, and I didn't have even enough money to extend my stay or my visa. And I remember one of your posts came up, and I was on Facebook, and in one of my break times, I saw this, and I said, "Oh my God, someone actually speaks to animals, and what if I could do that?" And this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do, but I didn't have any means or the time left. And just I emailed you, I remember, and said, "This is what I do, and these are the cost dates, and blah blah blah." And I was like, "Oh damn!" And then, "Oh no, this is not going to work." And just then, literally, someone from behind came from the GM's office and told me, "Lisha, can you step in for a minute? They're calling you in the meeting room." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I went in thinking, what is this? And they said, "Listen, we really want you to stay on. Can you extend for a whole month and maybe longer?" And without even thinking, my fee for all the courses came, not just one. And I came back and I messaged you saying, "Okay, I'm in. All four signed up, da, 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 done." And there was no looking back. It just, from there, it all just like moved.
Yeah, that's often like that. You have a wish, you send a request to the universe. You
Yeah,
don't even realize sometimes that you are sending the request, and
yeah,
the universe, in your case,
answered.
answered instantly. Instantly
But
say, "Yeah,
also,
you can go.
it must
This is
have
the
been
money."
really, really sincere.
Mm.
So
How many
sometimes,
years
yeah.
ago was it? I honestly, I don't remember. I remember when you registered, but I don't remember how many
It
years ago.
was
Because
2000.
for the audience, I think this is interesting that you mention it for one specific reason. I
Yeah,
hear all the time, "Oh yes, but speaking to animal, it's not something that you can do like that. You must be gifted." And you are the proof
yeah,
that you went from zero to very high level.
yeah. Uh, that's good. So it was 2017 when I first saw this, and at the end of 2017, I think December is when we started our courses, and it went on for a couple of months because there was level one, level two, level three, and we did it at that time. We did it like 2 weeks, and then there was a break, and then 2 weeks. So I in fact traveled and came back in between. So between 2017 December and 2018 April, I was complete with all levels. And not just that, in fact, I remember so clearly because when we were doing the animal courses, I was very scared of, mediumship and channeling and all these things because I'd had a lot of bad experiences with, like vibes and, how people say that, oh, bad black magic and this and that. And I just didn't want to
Which
go
is
there.
completely different, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah.
People have
I didn't
wrong
want to go
beliefs.
there.
Yeah.
And I remember you told me in the course and you said, listen, if you want to get over your fear, then there's no better way. You need to jump in. And I was like, oh, no, I don't know. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And then I did. And I realized it completely changed again. One more thing. All the fears I had, because, now when I feel or see, an energy, I don't like freak out. I'm like, okay, come, let's have coffee together. If you want to chat, we chat. If you don't want to chat, we just don't chat. It's like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you embrace it now. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Great. Okay, Lisha, I would like to ask regarding the situation in India because, I'm based in Dubai. You are traveling very often between Dubai and India. And as far as I know, you correct me if I'm wrong, the situation with animal in India is really something. Also, the population is very high, and you correct me again if I'm wrong, but the numbers of animal communicators in India is very, very low regarding the amount of people and animal they have there because it's a huge population. It's a highly populated country. Then
Yeah.
can you give a word about this and explain how is the situation and what could be done for, they have many people based in Dubai who are from India, from Pakistan, from the region. And
Yeah.
I'm sure many just learned that you don't need to be gifted to become an animal communicator. Then you can help and many can become like you. But what can you say about the situation actually and what can be done?
Um, you know, um, okay, I'll answer two parts of this. One is
Yeah,
that
for sure.
the number of animal communicators in India, in fact, is actually now growing because people are realizing that it is something. But I'm very doubtful, or I am questioning the way it is taught because, and I noticed this when I did my Reiki too. I learned from a certain master, and it was a very long, drawn, intense process. And then I noticed a lot of these courses that would come on, on social media, on in newspapers saying, Ray, learn Reiki in 1 hour, in 2 days, in this. I'm like, how? It does not happen like that. There is a
Yeah, you
21
need
day
to
cleansing.
practice, of course.
There is a lot of intense work you need to do on yourself also to be able to even embrace those gifts or allow those gifts and use them. So I'm suspect, I'm suspicious of a lot of fly by night courses and teachings and then the product that comes out of them. I do not wish to judge because I don't know them personally. But from the few things I've seen, I'm not confident. At the same time, I have to say that few years ago, before I met you, I met someone who did animal communication for my cat, and I didn't even know that she was doing animal communication. Someone just told me contact her because she may be able to help you with his peeing problem, thing. And she told me a few things which I didn't know it was called communication. But yes, there are a few who are really like sharp and who get it. But people don't know about them as well, and then there are those who advertise a lot and who are there visible, but I'm not sure about those people. So, like I see sometimes when they speak, the people do put up posts on social media and they put up these topic said, I'm thinking, no, but that doesn't exist. It doesn't. We don't look at it that way. We look at it like a whole picture that you're communicating with the soul. There is no like recently I saw someone saying, "Oh, is there soul animal communication and tactical or everyday?" I'm like, there is no two things. You communicating with the animal or the soul. When you're communicating with the soul, whether it tells you it likes a blue ball or it tells you that my owner is being abused, you're still communicating. You cannot separate soul work versus it's all soul work. So, the definitions and the way the teachings and the way it's being given to people, I'm suspicious of that. The second part, which is the population and the number of animals, my heart breaks. I'm on rescue groups in India also, and so many times I have to like look at the pictures and look at the stories and put it away because I'm physically not there and one cannot physically be there. I mean, India, even Bombay, if I'm living in one place and the animal is 3 hours or 2.5 hours away, I'm never going to reach there. And there are actually on-ground rescuers doing it. And hats off to these people who have dedicated their time and their life and their money and their resources to doing this. Because the state of abuse and cruelty is probably 100 times more than what I've seen in most places in the world. Like, in many cities in the world, you won't even see strays on the street. In India, they're at every corner. I mean, and the way they're treated, the way, like, it's an irony that in a country that worships every god, we have millions of them. Every god has an animal that is connected to him or her.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
every
I
god
you're
has a
right.
vehicle, a swan, a dog, a cow, whatever. And yet these are the things we abuse and we misuse uh, and it happens even in home. It's, I'm not even talking about on the streets. Like a lot of people I know who buy their pets, they think it's just enough to have bought an animal and then given it food or making sure that the servants will clean the tray. It's done. They just have that show pet. So it really is, if you look at something as a life versus a thing, it's just that. And there is no such thing as animal lover or hater. You either believe in life or you don't believe in life.
Yeah, yeah. I get you. Yeah, that's still a problem today. But what do you think can be done, especially for India or in Dubai? As you know, they have many rescuer, and we have more and more people doing animal communication, which is great. Um, like I said, in India, we need much more animal
Yeah,
communicators to raise also the awareness, because what you just described is mainly about being
also.
ignorant about what really is an animal. We have been programmed for aeons, not years,
Yeah,
aeons, forcing us somehow to think that animals are just livestock, which is still existing in many, many countries.
yes,
And it's considered somehow as normal. And I think that raising the awareness, educating people, making video, speaking in a group, creating groups where you speak about this on how to treat your animal well and why you
yeah,
need to treat them well, because they are a soul. And for me, I have seen that many times into session with my client. And believe me, I'm an animal communicator since a long time. I didn't believe in that until I discovered through my client and through myself also doing regression. I had clients that were telling me, I've been a horse in another life, and I was this, and that. Or someone telling me, my dog was not a dog before. And many, many stories like this. And I think this is why it's important to raise the awareness, especially like you mentioned, In India, they have a god for everything. They have the reputation to be very high in spirituality, and even they still treat animal like object. But for me, it's just a way of opening the doors and educate more people about this, because that's also a country where they believe a lot in karma. They
Yeah,
know how karma is affecting you. And I think you are also at the right place at the right time to teach in one way or another, just creating groups or creating video and explaining, because it's like in the Buddhism, they say always, if you kill an insect, it can be you in the next
yeah,
life. It
yeah,
can be you who become a mosquito. It can be
yeah.
you who become an ant or something like that. Then I think this is a very great way also to explain by teaching through the karma and letting them know that this is not a livestock. I mean, speaking about the dog,
Yeah,
cat,
yeah,
of
yeah.
course, because I know for farmer it's still there and they are relying on that. I'm not judging, because it's about also evolution, consciousness evolution, and the consciousness is involving switch my tongue, involving much faster than before. And I think that's something you could teach somehow.
Yes, and it is it is on my radar and it is on my plan because I truly believe that in India at least children have a huge power in the household and everywhere in the world. I mean, the way our parenting is, we do everything. And the moment a child, so I feel that whether schools do it or not, but somehow if children can begin to understand coexistence with animals from a very young age, this is what they will grow up to be and this is what they will grow up to do. I see so many children today have um, doing the wrong things because that's the way their parents did it, or that's
Exactly.
what they know. They don't know better. So
Yeah,
if they are taught and if they are given that an eye opener to how animals and us coexist and how we are interdependent, um, it's like when I mean I don't want to get into being a vegetarian, not being a vegetarian, but like for example, I'm just saying that a lot of people eat meat, and I did also till I feel that the day you see the source, the day you know the source, you cannot go back to being the same. Like you cannot unsee something, you cannot unlove something, you cannot undo something that you have seen and experienced. So when with kids, because they are open and they're innocent and they're ready for new things. I really feel that at least the whole compassion and being open to coexistence needs to begin there. Of course, adults need to do it, but adults we're like, we're so busy being busy and we're so caught up in useless things that we don't have time. We sometimes don't even have time for karma.
could start with school. School is the best
Yes,
place. Yeah,
yes,
could
right
start
from
there.
young age. I mean, besides every home being having a pet and or understanding how to work with animals, if in school they did this, and this goes beyond petting zoos. Petting zoos are just like the tip of the iceberg. They really need to work. Like for me as a child, I knew I loved animals. I sit and talk to sparrows in my living room with watching TV with a cat. But I didn't when when I had to work with an animal, feed it, clean it. That's when I understood. Like I understood that it does not like being touched like this because it has whiskers and therefore it's sensitive because these are little nuances that you only know when you touch, feel, experience. And kids need to be given that opportunity. I mean, we need to have them out of like off their screens and touching life, really, which we're slowly not we're forgetting.
Yeah, that's right. That's where it starts with the children. That's a part of the new world. I see things slowly changing, And more we speak about this, more we can raise also the awareness, because sometimes people just receive a seed that you have planted, and it's like for everything, you don't have a flower in 24 hours.
Yeah,
Your flower can take few days, and for vegetable can take months. For some of them, even for a tree, can take years from the
yeah,
moment you have planted the seed. Then fact is, plant a maximum of seed now
exactly.
for the next children coming.
Yeah.
Be ready to embrace completely. Okay, now I would like to ask you. And this is a question I have very often. People are not all, of course, but especially for the people who are still doubting that animal communication is really working, what can bring to your animal. Can you just explain? Because the remark I had less now, but I still have it, is, oh, I'm already speaking with my dog and he understands what I say. The fact is not there. Yes, your animal understand exactly everything that you say. Dog, cat, horse, even snake, because they read energy. They sense everything, and in terms of spirituality, they are much more higher than us, much more in tune. But the key here is you receiving, hearing, feeling what your animal have to say, what your animal is encountering. Now I would like you to explain how it is beneficial for the owner of an animal, or in which way animal communication is helpful for the owner of an animal.
So it's like any relationship, like we feel that whether it's two friends or husband, wife, or brother, sister, in any relationship, we feel we're communicating. We feel that we're talking to each other. But do we really know what the other person is feeling inside? We don't. Or vice versa. For example, I'm like, there's a cat in the house here and everybody loves her. She's taken good care of, blah, blah, blah. About 6, 8 months back, I got to know, or rather, she told me that I am getting arthritis in her left hind leg very specifically. And I kept bringing it up, saying, listen, she's starting arthritis and she has difficulty. Her left hind leg is paining. She's in a lot of pain. They said, no, she seems to be fine. She's climbing up the stairs. She's doing this. She's doing this. See, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. Months have gone. Last week, we noticed that she could not climb the step, the normal step.
Because it was too deep. Yeah, she has
We
reached
went to the
the
doctor.
bottom.
No, even then, 2, 3 days. Let's see, let's see. I think she's getting better. I think she has hurt herself. Okay, there's no wound, nothing. 5 days later, we go to the doctor, and the doctor does the X-ray. The vet does the X-ray. Arthritis, left hind leg, below the hip, between the hip and the knee. Not just the beginning of arthritis now, because she's already progressed over 6 months.
Yeah, she has
She's
reached the
advanced stage,
bottom.
and she's in so much pain that she's on medication. Now, they do communicate. Yes, they talk. Sure, this one. Oh, how are you? How are you today? Yes, and she also meows back at them, and she will tell them, I'm hungry, I'm not hungry. And they get some level of communication, but that's not communication. That is talking to or at something, and those are reactions. But communication is really when you get into the heart of something, you understand what that soul or that life is feeling, what it means.
Yeah. The example you give, it's like when two people are speaking. And I have a funny story about this. That's a perfect example. I had a surgery on my thumb, okay, last year. And the perfect example of what you just mentioned is like you talk to someone, but you don't listen, you don't communicate. They had in the office next to me, and I was in a room where you wake up after the surgery, and they were having not a fight but a very high level of discussion because the nurse has made a mistake, blah blah blah. They were talking to each other but not listening, not listening what the other had to say. Like that's the case for many people. And if you communicate with your animal this way, that's not communication, like you mentioned. Yeah. And what you said about the arthritis, that you have seen that much before it manifests on the physical level for someone who is a beginner, because that person obviously is a beginner and doesn't have a clue about what is really going on, you know? And then in such a situation, you see things that are really inside the body. You feel what is the pain of that being. But other people who are not connected, who are still, let's say, sleeping somehow, how can we educate them and tell them, listen, what I feel now, what I see in your cat, in your horse, in your animal, because that's always the case. We see much more in advance before it's really
Yeah,
manifesting, where you are really struggling with pain and it becomes unbearable. We see at the level when it's still bearable. How can we raise the awareness about this? Because it's me, for example, it's like me. Sorry, I switch my tongue a lot today. Anyway, there are some days like that. You know, they have situation where I see the energy of cancer into the etheric body, but this
yeah,
can happen 2 years before
yeah,
it's discovered into the physical body. Can you
correct.
explain that? Not especially about the cancer, but the fact that we in animal communication and in the
So
astral world, let's say this way, we can see things somehow not in advance, it's already present into the aura, into the etheric body, but not in the physical. Then it doesn't manifest yet as a huge pain.
yeah. So one, um, the medical, or I'm not going to get into the technical medical side of it, but we don't realize that our body, all our bodies, animals and us, we have a fantastic way of coping. So, for example, when I go for a test today and I say, someone I know went for a test and they said, oh, their creatinine level has gone to 20% or 40%. And I mean, sorry, the kidneys have gone to 40% and therefore the creatinine is very high. But how could this happen suddenly? And the doctor said, we don't realize that when you come to us saying that you are 2% or 1% higher, your body has already taken on the toll of probably 50% damage. And it is the lungs are covering up for the kidneys are covering up for something else, till it becomes unbearable and there is a breakdown, there is a collapse, and that's when we go medically. Now, when we, as mediums or as channels or as holistic healers, we feel energy. Number one, I will sometimes feel like an itch in my back. Like there was a dog I was working with, and I kept feeling itchy when they were talking to me, even when they were describing the case to me. And I said, "Listen, what's the itch?" And then she told me, she's had eczema since childhood. I'm like, dude, my whole body has broken out. And so it is an energy, because every illness is also an energy. Cancer or dementia, these are these are energy related things. They are not purely medical. Like today, I was reading that dementia actually hits you 20 years before these
Yeah,
symptoms show up. Now, can
yeah,
you
correct.
imagine if someone is sitting on something for 20 years and a medium has come in and felt that, oh, something is not right. There's a nerve little off. And that time you think they're mad, you know. And I have had this that, oh yeah, but how can you even say that? And yes, 3 years later, you will come to me and you will say, you know what, they developed, acidity or reflux or whatever. And I said, I told you he has a gut issue, you know. Now what? So we're feeling that energy. We're also feeling, how do I say, it is like, so if I had to say a soul is speaking to you and the body is there. Now the soul is in the body, but it also is watching it like an observer, right?
Yeah,
So if the soul is saying like, oh my God, Lisha, what you're doing is wrong because if you do this, you could have a heart attack. Or, but I'm not listening. So someone else probably is going to listen and say, hey, listen, you need to do this because the warning signs are there. I'm like, I didn't get any warning signs because I'm too busy. My mind is too busy doing other things. It's like we cannot see the closest things to us clearly, but we can see it from a distance. And
That's right.
probably that's where a channel or a medium comes. And I remember when I was writing a lot of my applications as a writer, as a copywriter, I used to always say, what gives me the greatest pleasure or what I find most exciting is to be able to feel as if I was exactly in their shoes. And
Yeah,
that's what animal communication literally today I feel like, oh my God, I thought about it then, but in a different context. But that's what I'm doing. I sometimes go into their body, like, and I'm chasing, like a cat is lost or a dog is lost, and I'm on the road with them. I can see the buses and all the traffic. It's so real.
yeah. And it's so
It's as
real
real
at the
as that.
same time. It's so real.
And it's surreal.
Yeah, I confirm because I feel the same. Then I'm on your side, let's say this way. It's
Yeah.
only for people who
So,
never experienced this that they don't know. But I want to say that's an amazing feeling, not just for the sake of saying, oh my God, I can feel what my cat is experiencing, or I can feel what my dog.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
that's not the point. But I think really animal communication is useful in a way that yourself, you grow, and I would like that you speak also about that in a way on
yes,
how it changed you, because yes, you was attracted by animal, you could see scent, etc. when you
yeah,
was a child. But what I mean by that is up to the point where you really experience what an animal is feeling, up to the point where you can hear in your mind, you can see with your internal vision what is really going on in the world of an animal. It is also changing your own personal perception, because as human, and I'm not an exception, I'm a human like everyone. Before I
yeah,
started to experience this on daily basis, because I was doing as a child, but then I started to repress for many years because I entered into a finance career, whatever, and then I came back. But during that off period, it's like I was a different person. And then I came back to my original self when I was a child, where I
yeah,
could feel, see. And then as an adult, I had to re experience that. But from the moment I started again to re experience, memories of childhood came back and it changed me. I don't know how it was
yeah.
for you. Can you explain?
It it is to do for me at least. It was, we all have intuition, and which is the biggest thing that divides this from being a gift versus it is inborn. Actually, we all can feel it, but we don't trust it over time. As we grow as adults, we begin to put filters. We doubt because of other conditions. Oh, someone said, "Oh, you're so stupid," or "You failed in this," or whatever. Slowly, 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 these filters come in. I'm not good enough for this. I can only this. I can only think this way. I whatever. Now, what happens is the intuition starts getting clouded, like it's covered with so many things that you cannot even see it any longer, which is why people say, I communicate with my animal. They're not, because they're not letting their intuition show through. They're letting conversation happen, but that's different. It's dialogue. So what happened with me is that I started trusting my intuition again. It was like a switch that came on. Sometimes the switch, like, it didn't like always flip on, but it's like a tap. It opens slowly, 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 slowly. And then there's a gush and then it's flowing again. It's like a river. And that river had not gone dry. There just was a block or a dam there. The moment that got lifted like a veil or whatever you call it, the flow began again. And that flow is really intuition and trust. And For me, animal communication, at least more than mediumship, more than anything else, has taught me to have faith, one, and surrender.
Yeah,
I
very
did not
important.
know how to surrender. I used to surrender, thinking, I'm surrendering, I'm surrendering. But that was more about fear and desperation. Today, when I say that, I'm doing this and, I ask spirit guides to come in and all, I really ask them, I'm like, you take over, do it. I, I don't know, it's not me. So, so that is one, this feeling of trust and surrender to allow these. Sometimes I'm like, oh, did I say this? Oh, it does not make sense. It does not make sense that this dog would say she is going to have only 5 puppies or whatever. She doesn't look so big. This is my logic.
Yeah, of course. This is the ego mind. We all have it.
Yeah, all this, all these things are coming in. No, how can I say that? And she did. I'm like, oh my, it surprised me also. I'm like, I was right. So that means what I felt was right. And these are the things that slowly I realized that the more you trust, the more you, uh, it's just easy to say trust, but it comes with time. It came with time, and it only comes with humility. It
Yeah, time,
humbles me
practice. Yeah,
every single time. Every case I do has humbled me. Like, I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? You told me this? Like, how? How? Each time someone says, it must be so wonderful you have this gift. I'm like, I have no idea how humbled and how small I feel when
yeah,
any of these things happen. I feel, oh my God, thank
yeah.
God.
Yeah,
It is,
yeah, that's amazing. And you can only understand this from the moment you start to experience your first real conversation, because it's a telepathic communication.
yeah,
Finally, it's not speaking and not listening. Let's come back to the roots.
yes,
um, it remember me a situation, and I did a video with that. The name was the psychic cat. Well, cat is not psychic, they are
yes,
all
yes, I
psychic
remember.
by nature. But I remember the cat was even speaking about the father-in-law who had high blood pressure. And even myself, when I said that on the video, I was like, I'm sorry, I just repeat what your cat is telling me, because I've never seen that man. I didn't know who it was. The cat was telling me, this is the father-in-law. And it was on the men's side. And I was there just repeating what the cat was telling me. Instantly the client say, yeah, ta 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 ta, and I was like, wow. And at that moment, even I had similar stories before, but every new story you experience, and this is very interesting for the audience if you are still doubting, every new story, like you mentioned, you experience with an animal, when they speak and they tell you accurate things, you are like, oh my God, you become more humble day after day. I had the same case with a horse who has been rescued, and the horse was explaining the trauma from before. Very bad, let's say the word, shitty situation. Luckily, my client rescued the horse. The horse today is happy. But of course, she rescued the horse. She has issue with his behavior, etc. Then communication become very handy in such a case. But that day, I even did a video also for that one, but not with the client on the video. I just translated. And I remember the host was asking the client to forgive someone that the client didn't know, which was the
wow,
previous owner. And when
oh no,
you get conversation that way, you are like, oh my God, as a human we are not even capable to think, to go back that way and say, okay, bad things happen. What we do, we go to full hatred to the
yeah,
person we don't know. No, animal are coming and say, please forgive that person because he didn't know what he is doing.
yeah.
This is the amazing things about animal communication, honestly. Yeah. Lisha, would you like to say a word to the audience, or a last word, because we are coming to the end very, very soon? Or do you have a wish that you would like to share with the audience?
With Indians, I very specifically with India, I really would say that if each home we have we have too many people, and if each home at least could virtually or in some way adopt, even if you don't physically adopt them, but look after one animal on the street, one, just one home per one stray. We're
Let's say
sorted.
sponsor, sponsor an animal in the street. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
sponsor it. Yeah.
yeah, one, just one. Like even if we have society fees that in India every society bills you every month for a maintenance and blah blah. And in that society fee, if you put 5 rupees, it's nothing today. It's peanut in your society fee for feeding of strays in that one corner. You lost nothing, and they gained a whole life. It takes nothing.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
is say like let them live. The moment you say let them live, they can live. They don't ask for anything.
Mhm. Yeah, just food and
Yeah,
care. Yeah.
yeah, a little corner to curl up. Yeah. So
Mhm.
it's it's one home. Each home can take one sponsor or one contribute to one stray. We're sorted.
Mhm. Yeah, right. Okay, Lisha, where can we find you?
Okay, I'm extremely low profile only because I just am like that. But I have an email ID, which is where most people can message or email me.
You
It's
have social media, right? You're on
I
social
have
media
social
as well.
media.
Yeah,
I am
I
on
will
Facebook.
share it. I will
I
share
am
it
on Facebook.
below.
I am on
Yeah.
Insta. And I go by the name, when I do my communication, I go by the name Animalish, which is ANI, MALISH, because animal and Lisha. And that is a registered name in India now. So it's
Okay. In
officially
which
legal
town? Which
in
town?
Bombay. It's
In
legal,
Bombay. Okay.
but yeah, it's an Indian legal name, and I am in the process of recreating my website on that. But it is official and it's legal. And the reason everybody asks me, even the legal guys ask me, why do you want to register a name like an animal communication thing? I said, I want to make this profession or this skill, I want to give it the respect it deserves.
Yeah.
And it requires more. I have not even registered my own copywriting name, but I've registered this because this deserves the privilege and the respect.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks for
Thank you.
participating. Thank you everyone for watching the show. And if you have any request, any subject that you would like that we speak about, please share in the comment below or send me a request by email. I will also place the detail under the video. And please don't forget to subscribe. Subscription means the world to me. And ring the bell. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you
Bye.
all.